And that data which is coming from the scooter, from these electric vehicles, is very, very powerful. It tells us that how people are moving in a city, at what time of the day, what is the speed, pattern of the driving, etc.
You are listening to Understanding the Future podcast. I am the host Punit Gandhi, and this podcast is developed in association with Climate Center for Cities under the National Institute of Urban Affairs and the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. This is a podcast where we discuss about the future of work in the field of climate change, urban development, innovation, and sustainability with the help of leaders and visionaries working on ground as well as in the top management of public and private sector. Our objective is to better understand the future so that we can be prepared and intervene to enable climate actions in the urban areas. Hello, everyone. I am Punit Gandhi, the host of the podcast Understanding the Future. And today we have with us Mr. Amit Gupta, co founder and CEO of Yulu, an electric vehicle micromobility startup. Mr. Amit will help us in understanding the future of mobility as a service. Welcome to the show, Mr. Amit.
Thank you, Puneet.
So, I would like to start our conversation with understanding how did you shift from developing a unicorn startup in mobile advertisement at InMobi to electric vehicle micromobility startup Yulu?
So when I started in Mobi, along with my three other co-founders, uh, there was a belief that there's a huge transition into mobile devices,
Yeah.
and the way people are consuming content and doing a lot of things on desktop in the Western world. Same thing will happen on mobile in the case of India, and post that rest of the world also. So
Yeah.
we thought that probably there's an interesting opportunity to build an advertising business the way Google did that on desktop. So
True.
that was our belief. And then if you fast forward all of this, so I think our assumption and our belief was pretty bang on. Advertisement on mobile has become the largest channel
Yeah.
ahead of TV and print and news, whatever you want to talk about.
True.
And when uh, I started in Mobi, there was a wish that by age of 40 I should be retiring.
Yeah.
And then when I was approaching that milestone, I realized that this is not probably something which I want to do at this stage.
Yeah.
And after thinking and talking to some mentors, I decided to do something for social impact
Yeah.
and not do an NGO. By the way, I wanted to do a for-profit organization so that we can make the impact much larger and also be sustainable at the same time. So
True.
that's how the problem of air pollution and traffic congestion got to my attention, and I thought that I should spend my next 10 years solving for that, and that's how Yulu got started. So it was more of a wish, I would say, which was misguided in the beginning that I should be retiring.
Yeah.
Then it actually got formed into giving it back to the society. So that's the reason for me doing Yulu.
That's amazing because it's completely like I won't even say opposite because they don't even belong on the same spectrum. But I hope it also has a path like in Mobi for the future. So again, coming back to mobility as a service in India, Uber and Ola did start a taxi service as a platform. You have started a EV micromobility solution for first and last mile commuting. How do you see mobility as a service growing in India? Because that is somewhere we are looking for. Urban sector is looking for some solutions, and you're being one of them. How do you see it evolving?
Sure. So as you know that India is pretty large country, and the
Yeah.
type of use cases which are present cannot be solved with one product or one service for that matter.
Yeah.
So there's a spectrum in which you have to navigate. But if you step back and ask the larger question that where is the maximum amount of impact one can make in the context of our country? So clearly, four-wheeler is not the answer.
Yeah.
Uh, it is not an answer because we do not have enough road space. So even if you want to convert out of the mobility to mobility as a service using four-wheeler, we don't have road splits for that. Second thing, which is very different than rest of the world, particularly from the Western world, we don't have that level of economic affordability either.
Yeah.
In India, where we know what type of monthly income 90% of people have, we cannot afford price point of Uber and Ola
Yeah.
for the large masses of people. And what we believe is, at least for country of a size and scale and economic affordability argument, I think the answer is a good scalable public transportation,
True.
where people use metro and buses for their long distance of of their travel time.
Yeah.
And we have seen that even you look at London, Hong Kong, Beijing, Shanghai, lot of distances being traveled through public transportation. At the same time, in using public transportation, the biggest problem is that how do you get from your home to metro station or bus station? That is also not a small distance, by the way, in the context of our country, and you probably have a better data. Our assumption and estimates is that it is 3.5 to 4 kilometers very easily
Yeah.
on an average in cities like Delhi and Bangalore and Mumbai. And for that, there's a deterrence. People don't want to, break their head. Sometimes it is very expensive. So we are actually trying to solve this problem of first mile and last mile because we think that future of any big sustainable city is around everyone using public transportation. We want to enable that to that. And
Yeah.
from a percentage of trips perspective also, that 65% of the trips in our cities are below 5 kilometers. So if we basically make them efficient and affordable and clean,
Yeah.
then from an impact perspective, that's a huge one. So that's why Yulu has chosen
Yeah.
the short distance mobility as our playground rather than focusing on a taxi or basically on a four-wheeler, etc.
Yeah. And so government does play a big part in public transport, and currently your strategy also looks like that you are going with wherever the metro stations are and helping them connect on the last mile to that. So what are some of the challenges do you see in making taking this forward? Because it does, there is a startup ecosystem, there is a government ecosystem, and combining those two is complicated as of now because things are not streamlined. So
Sure.
what kind of challenges do you see there?
So I'll tell you, Puneet, what type of challenges we have faced in the past,
Yeah,
where we are, and how do we get things better. Yeah.
that's good.
So that's
Yeah,
probably a more holistic answer. So to be very clear, when we started this journey back in January 2018, there was no policy for services like ours.
yeah,
There was no infrastructure in terms of parking, in terms of even riding them, etc. User preference was also not there. There was no economic policy which was incentivizing user of to use this kind of service. So there were several things which were missing. Luckily, what has happened over the last 3 years, particularly, by the way, Mahua has been super supportive of
yeah,
micro mobility services in the country, and so we are very thankful. That's why I didn't want to say that everything is broken. It's
yeah,
a it's a kind of progression. So over last 3 years, we have been getting a lot of encouragement from the cities where we have been. So we got, for example, a permit system for micromobility services in Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, and Pune and Ahmedabad.
yeah,
And it was nudge which we did to the local cities and which they reciprocated very positively. So that's a one good part. We also have been able to create infrastructure for parking. So
yeah,
every metro station in Delhi, Bombay, and Bangalore, we have been given spaces to place our bikes so
yeah,
that people can pick them and then they can take it to their end destination. Same help has been reciprocated by private players. So real estate developers who own those commercial buildings or those RWAs who have basically these apartment complexes. So they have
yeah,
all given the spaces to create this infrastructure for micromobility to happen. I think the area where we have to get better is the dedicated tracks, as we say, dedicated
yeah,
lanes, which will increase the notion of safety. So I
yeah,
would not say that we are seeing a problem with respect to safety.
yeah,
Touchwood, we have done miles, millions of miles distances on EV,
Yeah.
and we have not seen even a single fatal accident till date, touch wood,
Okay.
in
Yeah.
last 2 years. Having said that, I know for sure that there's a section of society who thinks that if you can make my travel safer, then
Yeah.
I'm in. So this is one area where we actually see further policy intervention
Hmm.
from central government level or even the city level. Good
Yeah.
news even there is Bangalore is making dedicated tracks for 80 kilometer
Okay.
as we speak.
Yeah.
Phase one will be inaugurated most likely next month.
Okay.
Delhi has announced 500-kilometer dedicated bike tracks, and
Yeah.
hopefully execution will happen early next year. So we
Yeah.
see now traces of this, and your organization MOA runs a smart city mission where
Yeah.
there's a mandate for dedicated bike tracks. So
Yeah.
we think that once they get executed, and there's a government who is also educating consumers and making aggressive pushes around that, that will actually make the adoption 10x. So that
True.
is one area where we would like to see continued support and nudge and the push from this from the government side.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and that is there for sure because recently, while CSCF or Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework was launched, Cycle for Cities Challenge was also launched with
Yeah,
association with Fit India Mission. And the
correct.
idea is to promote as much bicycling in cities as possible, so that it's safer, it's healthier, and less pollution,
True.
less traffic.
True. And put it the only thing, when you are now talking to the policymakers,
Yeah.
so I think we need to understand that for India and by the way for rest of the world, the notion of cycling actually has been expanded by adopting e-bikes also in the same
Yeah.
framework.
Yeah.
So it's not a religious that it ought to be a pedal cycle. It ought to be the same way we were using as when we were kids. Even if
Yeah.
you look at the hardcore bicycling country like Netherlands,
Yeah.
where everyone is practically on cycles, the sale of e-bikes actually has gone up by hundreds of percentage over
Yeah.
last 2 3 years, and even cities like London, Paris, who earlier were not very supportive of electric mobility in the small form factor, now they've
Yeah.
all accepted that there's a section of society which will never do bicycling for their
Yeah.
daily commute.
Yeah.
Probably they will do bicycling for the weekend for the health purpose, but that's not our problem. Our problem is that we need to reduce number of miles which are being traveled on those polluting vehicles
Right.
to
Yeah.
sustainable mobility. And for that, we need to think consumer out that what do they want.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, when you are talking to policymakers, I think we need to collectively educate them that it is not just cycle, but there's also this ENME, as we say that, below 25 kilometer per hour speed,
Yeah.
electric vehicle, and pedal assisted electric cycle
Yeah.
also are the same, solution to the problem statement which we have been chasing.
True, true. And I do believe that those talks are already in place because we have also discussed a lot that in our own organization about that. And there are multiple facets to all these problem statements as well. So,
Yeah,
yes, I'm sure that those things are already evolving as we speak.
yeah,
Coming to the infrastructure side of your ecosystem, one of the major breakthroughs you have done is in the battery infrastructure because that is something with electric vehicle and especially Yulu Miracle. You have set up a lot of charging stations or battery swap stations where it is important that you have facilitation so that always bikes are available for your users. Now battery swapping technology is I guess Sun Mobility is also one of other companies which is highly involved in that, and
yeah.
that does bring in a good amount of recyclability into the context. So how are you trying and planning to see that ecosystem growing with this whole ecosystem?
Sure. So, very interesting question, first of all. So, just like many other things which were not present when we started, in India, there was no reliable battery charging infrastructure either.
Yeah.
So, while Sun Mobility was there, but they were catering to a very different problem statement. of three-wheelers. So they had very big battery. What we needed was a smaller battery. And we also needed something which was created in a very highly dense cluster environment or micro market environment. So we ended up creating our own charging station. And then with the help of partnerships, we were able to place them at mom and pop stores. And that strategy actually helped us solving for our own problem. So
Yeah.
today, Yulu has approximately 200 plus charging stations.
Yeah.
And we have been able to run our operation in a very frugal and scalable manner. So it's working well for us. Only thing is, only key point here is only for Yulu. So if
Yeah.
let's say you own an electric vehicle, can you use Yulu charging station? Today, answer is no. It's
Yeah.
created for private needs and it's working well. Now, as far as the battery life cycle management is concerned, uh, thanks to innovations which are happening globally, there is actually now a breed of new startups who have started thinking about the afterlife of these lithium ion batteries, particularly.
Hmm.
In the case of electric mobility,
Yeah.
the cycle seems to be that we will use it from 100% to 80% DOD. So
Yeah.
DOD, if you understand,
Yeah.
up to what life, so 80% DOD is what actually Yulu has its limit set.
Yeah.
After that, we basically will be giving it to companies who have the next use cases of these battery being used in the case of inverter, in
Hmm.
the case of these cell towers, where the requirement is for the stationary battery.
Yeah.
And there they don't care whether battery is this big or this big because there's infinite space.
Yeah.
Now they use it for next almost 3 to 4 years
Hmm.
because this is more for the backup rather than they using it continuously the way mobility applications use it. And after that, you're talking about batteries being taken out at the cell level, and they're able to extract particularly the expensive or the rare metals that
Yeah.
includes, by the way, lithium. So there are companies in our country who have now technology to take battery pack, break it down, take away
Yeah.
the BMS. There's a way to recycle that, take the cell at the individual
Yeah.
cell level, extract the material that makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's a whole economy out there. I must say that it is at a nascent stage because the amount of supply which is out there of the batteries which needs to be recycled, that's a
Yeah.
small baby number. But when we have interacted with a couple of companies, they basically are technically ready, I would say. And with
Yeah.
scale and time and maturity, this will only get better. So today I don't freak out that, hey, when we basically discard these battery after 80% TOD, what will
Yeah.
happen? So we already have partners with us who
Yeah.
will be taking over these batteries once we are done with that.
Okay, and that's quite important as well when we are developing this whole sustainable ecosystem,
Yeah,
because I have also seen couple of startups specifically working for rural area, that whatever
yeah,
used batteries are there, they are used to light up their homes in rural areas where
yeah,
there is no electricity, and that becomes quite important.
yeah,
The second part of then the question comes over here is, currently we are majorly coal powered nation, and slowly and slowly we are increasing the renewable energy in India. But what are the thoughts of Yulu, and how are they planning to make sure that air pollution can be taken to almost zero if they converge to renewable energy?
yeah. So I think the best solution is, Puneet, that when we charge our battery,
Yeah.
uh, that energy is actually coming from renewable source,
Yeah.
maybe solar. Today, we do not have financial resources. So while we have this intent and wish, but today we do not have that financial resources to set up our own solar grid and
Yeah.
then charge the battery and then bring them to ULU zones and swap them. But I
Yeah.
think the way energy ecosystem is changing in the country, we are talking about a price point
Yeah.
where energy being produced from solar energy particularly is far cheaper than the energy being produced from traditional one. And if that is true, then even if we basically don't do something explicitly, in the background, more and more new energy creation will only happen through renewable energy.
Yeah.
So in a sense that if the country's requirement for electricity goes up because of EV adoption, then new capacity creation will only happen through renewal because of the economic reason.
Yeah.
And hence, from a percentage perspective, Yulu will start using a cleaner energy rather than coming from the coal. But I
Yeah.
think that day is not too far-fetched, and maybe talking about 5 years from now, where we are able to create a setup where we just set up not only our charging station, but there's also maybe a solar panel wherever we can install, where the energy gets generated from sun, and then it basically gets translated to our battery, and then battery we basically take it away.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of our ability to get to a scale where we can justify those investments.
True. True. And
But this will happen for sure.
and absolutely, that would be very interesting because that also cuts down the transmission cost and distribution cost.
True.
And overall, it becomes a cheaper ecosystem in itself for you guys as well. And then coming to the third part of the infrastructure is the currently how China has seen a growth of a lot of micro mobility options that came in, but at the same time there was a lot of trash that came out with cycles being just pushed up off as soon as the company shuts down.
Yeah.
And currently you are the one of the few in the marketplace which are there in the market, but over a period of time we would assume that more and more players would come in. So how do you think this challenge can be mitigated in India before it starts? We should not wait for this thing to happen in India as well, but we
So
will have
just
to
for
take.
the Puni, just for my clarification, you're basically
Yeah.
saying that uh, China happened because there was so much of
Bicycles.
supply
Yeah.
being dumped, right? So
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
to be done that this should not happen in India? That's your question?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So
That's
first of all, in China, this segment actually got probably much more venture capital money than it should have got.
yeah.
So suddenly there was an OFO and Mobike, and hundreds of millions of dollars of venture money got pushed into that. And that inspired 100 other companies to do the same business model. And it was very easy for any company or any founder to do this, bike sharing,
Yeah.
because there's a large OEM base of bicycle makers in China, and
Yeah.
hardware was given as a off-the-shelf product. And there were software providers who were giving you software for $50,000.
Yeah.
Anyone was like, let me get into this gold rush. But very clearly, they realized that this business is not about buying bike and putting them on the road. There's a
Yeah.
lot of operational discipline, role of technology, coordination with the city authorities, which is required. And that's why, in matter of 2 years, all of that actually got evaporated.
Yeah.
And if you ask, China is only three players now.
Yeah.
One company is Didi, second one is Meituan, and the
Yeah.
third one is called Hello Bike. So these
Yeah.
are the only three players left. Everyone else has gone.
Yeah.
Now, they basically have gone, I would say, much wiser, because they're not just pumping money in the name of growth, but they have understood that what is the good supply and demand balance.
Yeah.
Now, coming to India, we actually don't believe that India will have the same China story. Reason being that people saw that what happened in China. This business is not about you just dumping bikes. You need to create spaces. So, for example, when Yulu is working with MOA or Metro or the RWS and district developers, we
Yeah.
are creating the infrastructure first. So if I have space for only 10 bikes, I will not buy 11. I will only buy rather 9, not even 10. And then we'll make sure that unless we have a space to park
Yeah.
them, I'm basically not buying more bikes.
Yeah.
So this way, there will never be a situation where bikes are just being thrown out there in random places,
Yeah.
because you are capping it by this constraint of parking space. And also,
Yeah.
the type of craziness which used to happen 3 years ago, that has also gone. So they are not basically, we're not expecting that India will have 10 different companies trying to do the same thing which Yulu is doing. As actually
Yeah.
a matter of fact, we're the only company in the country right now who has been able to build this business. Everyone else actually has failed or pivoted or basically shut down.
Yeah.
So it's a very hard business. and it requires a lot of determination and this problem solving, mindset, which not many entrepreneurs have, unfortunately.
True.
It's a difficult problem, and you need to work towards that with high amount of patience and grit.
And absolutely, I agree with you because the business that you are in, you start from designing to manufacturing on one side and then service application on the other side, which are completely two different business sectors in itself. And they
So
have their own different lifestyles, a life cycle as well. Manufacturing does take a long time in itself, while software based applications are much more faster and agile. So
yeah,
how do you try to innovate in that ecosystem? Because they're completely two different life cycles.
yeah. So first of all, so by the way, me and one of my co-founders, we both
Yeah.
did mechanical engineering
Okay.
uh, when we were in college. And we actually joke, first of all, that for the first time we are using some portion of our learning in this venture. Because after
Yeah.
college, both of us never did anything related to mechanical engineering. But
Yeah.
even there, I would say that our knowledge about the subject is telling that what not to do.
Yeah.
So, with that wisdom, I would say that's actually wisdom, not lesser. We knew that we should not manufacture.
Yeah.
And rather than we going and trying to build electric scooter or a bike on our own, we actually
Hmm.
got to experts.
Okay.
So in the first phase, we actually formed relationship with a company outside of India because
Yeah.
there was no OEM in India who was willing to make it for us.
Okay.
So we got this arrangement. We were importing. We got a design done on our own, manufacturing happening outside of India, bringing it
Yeah.
back to India. Then Bajaj was assembling it, and
Okay.
then Bajaj is actually in the process of making a ground sub product which is suitable for shared mobility and for India. And
Yeah.
hopefully in 2021, we will actually see a world-class product created for India by Bajaj Auto Limited with
Oh,
our
wow.
design input. So we
Okay.
basically got short to mid-term sorted and then mid to long-term sorted with this
Hmm.
strategic partnership. And same
Okay.
thing we did for IoT and other hardware, where
Yeah.
there were things which were available in the market. So we did not touch. So we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. But then
Yeah.
there were areas which were not world class. We took those things into our hand. So,
Right.
for example, the IoT hardware which we use, which makes our vehicles smart and connected,
Yeah.
it was not a very good quality what we got in the first phase.
Yeah.
Then we actually designed them as per the market need, particularly India, where the vibration level, the weather condition is very different, reliability requirement is very high. We
Yeah.
ended up designing it, but even for the manufacturing of that IoT also, we
Hmm.
basically found out a partner in India who
Okay.
is basically manufacturing it for us. So
Okay.
manufacturing as a thumb rule we don't do, but design is something which we believe that that's where our operational knowledge is probably the highest in the country. So we get our hands dirty on that front.
Okay, and that's quite a good strategy as well because I feel ARM chips does this as well, if I'm not wrong, and
You're right.
that is one of the biggest market player as well. They supply to
Yeah,
everyone possible, and
correct, correct.
that's true.
So it's
So
a good collaborative approach. That's a
yeah,
basically approach we have taken.
yeah,
You try to work with people who are expert in that area, and
yeah,
then we basically bring our complementary knowledge of shared mobility, and that
true.
becomes a much better solution and powerful one.
That's a great strategy, and I hope it sustains its course of time. So coming then again back to the whole ecosystem of mobility as a service, when we are looking at public transport, there is an inherent need of shifting transports, and we need to have like some of the Scandinavian countries do have that kind of applications, but do you think India can build such kind of applications that with one touch we can go and cross major public transport modalities?
So certainly, there's a point about the physical access. I
Yeah,
think there we have already laid the foundation.
yeah,
So, at least in Bombay, Delhi, and Bangalore, we have been given spaces next to those public transportation hubs.
Hmm.
So every bus station, metro station, for example, in Bangalore has a ULU zone. So
Yeah.
there's a physical integration we have done. But the
Hmm.
question you are asking is actually is more holistic, where
Hmm.
I can do planning to execution of this multimodal transportation, right?
Yeah.
So with a single app, can I
Yeah.
go and say that, okay, I need to go from A to B? What are my options?
Yeah.
And every option probably will have a combination of time, price point, and maybe comfort. And
Absolutely.
depending on, what is your use case that day and what probably you like as an individual, you will say, okay, I want to optimize for this.
Yeah.
And then system tells you, and on a click of a button, you basically go ahead and execute that frictionlessly.
Yeah.
So in our case, for example, let's say if I talk about a simple use case of someone going from home to office, where
Yeah.
there's a first leg taken up on Yulu, and post that there's a metro station being taken up,
Yeah.
and then you walk to the your end destination. Then maybe an integration, simple integration, an easy integration with Yulu app with Metro will actually help
Yeah.
commuters a lot. We have been a big advocate of one nation, one card.
Hmm.
The mobility card, which Government of India has been talking about.
Yeah.
We totally understand that's not an easy one. It's a difficult, standard to pull. But
Yeah.
looking at what government has been able to do with respect to UPI or for that matter FASTag, I
Yeah.
think it's not very distant stream.
Yeah.
It's just matter of couple of metro and buses services, particularly in the big cities, adopting it, and then we'll be able to pull it off. So rather than we going and trying to solve this integration with different mobility companies or different public transportation company,
Yeah.
I think our effort can be fast tracked if one mobility card, one nation, one mobility card
Hmm.
vision actually comes to life. In the meantime, we actually have been in discussion with authorities in Bangalore. For
Yeah.
example, we have been talking to BMTC in Bangalore,
Yeah.
which runs States Bus. Can we do something of this nature? And
Yeah.
for that, we probably will have to do a very custom integration, but it will probably demonstrate the power of this vision. So
Absolutely.
we are doing things at a C level, but honestly speaking, this is not super efficient.
Yeah.
If there's a push from, let's say, central government side, one single API. I know Nandan is also trying to do something.
Yeah.
So they have some platform going on.
Yeah.
So maybe something will come up and we'll probably be enabling in that particular infrastructure.
True, true. And yeah, absolutely. That whole interface is where one of the biggest point of intersection where, people get on public transport more and more often so that your transaction cost per your whole journey is low. And in terms of time, in terms of money, everywhere. So
True.
that's quite an important one to solve as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, so coming to one of the final questions that we generally have and is on the lines of what kind of jobs and skill sets will it create? Because you are doing a lot of collaborations from manufacturing to software on both sides.
Yeah.
So which are the major skill sets and job sectors do you see coming up in your industry for the future youth, youngsters, or kids who are still doing their university education or school education?
Yeah. So when we look at the type of skills or employment opportunity with sectors like Yulu, I can think of two larger bucket. There's a bucket of uh, pure play R&D and solutioning, and
Yeah.
there's a bucket of execution, which is more on-ground execution.
Yeah.
If I talk about the first bucket, we actually need a lot of help, and I would say a lot of work is being done in the area of data sciences.
Yeah.
So what happens that because our vehicles are smart and connected, it actually throws a lot of data, and
Yeah.
that data which is coming from the scooter from these electric vehicles is very very powerful. It tells us that how people are moving in the city, at what time of the day, what is the speed, pattern
Yeah.
of the driving, etc. You actually can do a lot of interesting things to not only make your service better, but also the city planning to the next level.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of work which is being done. So we need help there. We also need help on the hardware side, and hardware is actually twofold. One is the vehicle part. So
Yeah.
the electric vehicle you are riding, there are so many nuances related to the safety, comfort, durability, price point, etc. How do you
Yeah.
make things better? So there's a
Yeah.
mechanical part, there's a battery tech, which requires a lot of work. The third element is on the hardware side is about the IoT, where
Hmm.
we basically have been able to put some kind of sensors, uh, what all new sensors you can put,
Hmm.
how do you use that for, again, making your service more reliable, better, and predictable.
Yeah.
So these are the work, at a R&D level. On the other side, there's a even bigger opportunity for employment being created, where people who are helping us to do repair and maintenance, and this repair and maintenance is proactive as well as reactive. So
Yeah.
we actually hire people and then we train them to become what we call it as Yulu pilots,
Hmm.
who are being trained as a part of Yulu Academy program. We
Hmm.
basically run a 4-week training program. Someone who is just willing to learn, and we have created a training module where we are able to convert them to Yulu pilot. So
Yeah.
these guys are doing repair and maintenance. They are doing battery swapping work. They
Yeah.
also move vehicles from point A to point B for the purpose of reducing the gap between the demand and the supply.
Yeah.
All of this basically is creating thousands of new jobs in big cities in India. So we think that when we look at our employment creation opportunity, there's
Yeah.
a larger impact we are making even in the bottom of the pyramid, where these
Hmm.
people who are kind of marginalized, I would say, who are probably
Yeah.
not even 10th pass, how do we empower them to to not only get a livelihood, but
Yeah.
also they grow up in the value chain. So in our
Absolutely.
case, someone becomes a Euro pilot, starts with very basic work of repair and maintenance. Then that person is being groomed to become technician. That person can actually fix EV. And if
Yeah.
India is basically becoming a large EV market, then all of them actually can earn more money. But
True.
then there are people who are not interested in pursuing the technical track. We
Yeah.
basically make them cluster manager. So they
Okay.
basically run PNL for that micro market,
Hmm.
and in future they can become a city head.
Yeah.
So someone who would have basically earned maybe 10 to 11,000 rupees by
Yeah.
becoming a city guard, on day one, Yulu is able to provide them a job opportunity to earn 15,000 rupees.
Yeah.
And then this 15,000 become 18,000, 21,000, 30,000 as you
Yeah.
basically grow up. And all of this actually happens pretty quickly because there's no time limit which we are putting on you. We are saying that if you are able to do this work, we promote
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So we feel pretty, we are very proud of this fact that, you are not basically a security guard for your life.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's no progression. You remain a security guard. But in our case, we are able to basically increase your livelihood and hence your impact in the country pretty dramatic, pretty fast. And that's a big deal. And we have found an engine to make it happen. So it's
Yeah.
working pretty well for us.
That's great to know, especially with how you're trying to uplift the people in the urban sector, and that is one of the much needed things as well. So, any final thoughts before departing on understanding the future of mobility as a service for our audience?
Sure. So, I'm big believer that while it may look overwhelming, that when Government of India, Niti Aayog, everyone is saying that let's move our mobility to electric mobility by 2030, and
Yeah.
it sounds like, oh my God, this is way too difficult. But if you step back and understand that this electrification of mobility is not a car-led change.
Yeah.
If you're just talking about from a kilometer distance being traveled,
Hmm.
then this all thing will be driven by smaller form factors.
True.
So two-wheeler, three-wheeler particularly. And
Yeah.
if you just look at from a usage perspective, the way people are moving, and if we make at least this short distance commute, as I was telling you, that which is 65% of the travel from a percentage perspective,
Yeah.
it is actually a big impact. And making that electric is actually easier because it is economically making sense.
Yeah.
So Yulu is actually doing electric. Yes, we had a larger agenda in our life, but if you ask me today, it is a no-brainer decision because our unit economics because of electric mobility is far superior
Yeah.
versus we would have used if we have used like petrol scooters, a
Yeah.
horrible unit economics. But electric scooters, we are making killing on that.
Yeah.
It becomes no-brainer. So you are doing good uh, for the country and for the climate, but also you're doing for your balance sheet.
Yeah.
And you will have absolutely no time in people switching to electric mobility in no time because it's making now economically sense. So I feel that this goal of electrification of larger mobility by 2030 is actually pretty much achievable as long as we actually channel our energy towards smaller form factor.
Yeah.
And if that happens, the right type of policies come into picture, the local infrastructure ecosystem of manufacturing and R&D also takes place in the same order of magnitude, then this is a very, very well achievable goal before actually 2030 itself. So this is why, by the way, closing thought, I am a big believer that our cities should be sustainable. We all need to take this U-turn. The way our air quality was getting tarnished and so horrible uh, was
Yeah.
not the answer. You spending 2 hours to cover 5 kilometers was not an answer.
Yeah.
It all requires reboot, and I think COVID-19 probably has given us some step back moment and
Absolutely.
opportunity, and hopefully we build it from here and build it in a right manner. So very optimistic about that.
Thank you so much. And I would like to reiterate on those thoughts as well that with FAME 2 policy as well, the agenda is to promote more of public transport and two-wheelers and electric vehicle market than major car users, because that's where our nation is trying to go over
True,
there. Yeah.
true.
Thank, thank you, Mr. Amit. This was surely a very insightful conversation about mobility as a service. I hope our audience has enjoyed the conversation as much as I have and gained some perspective about mobility as a service market. Thank you.
Thank you, Puneet. Bye bye.
Bye bye. You have been listening to Understanding the Future podcast. To know more about Climate Center for Cities, visit us at www.c-cube.niua.org and follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. The show is conceptualized, hosted, and produced by Punit Gandhi. You can listen to the show on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Spotify. So don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and share it with your friends and colleagues. Thank you and stay tuned for the next episode.